And all of a sudden, now we've had them have to bomb Damascus because you have Hezbollah. Hezbollah supported by Iran. Hamas supported by Iran. But this kingdom moves northward into Azerbaijan. If you will take a map of Europe and a map of the Mideast and look at southern Europe, there is so much territory that is not Russian. It is actually Muslim territory that Russia has on paper control of, but they do not have control of the population because the population is controlled by their religion. Notice in the map that is in front of you, Syria. It's dark green. Why? Because Syria is the dividing line. You see, Iran could influence Iraq, but their influence in Syria was less until ISIS came along. And ISIS was a Shiite type kingdom, a religious leader. Let me tell you what else is interesting. If you look at the population of Syria and the government of Syria, you have two different kinds of Muslims. The country is Sunni Muslim. The government is Shiite Muslim. That's why there's so much that's going on with Syria today. It is that difference in government. Yemen, if you'll notice to the south, is Shiite. And when you get right down to it, they have been involved in recent events. Persia has sought control of Syria, Iraq, Kuwait, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and they'd like to have control of Turkey. They have moved into northern Egypt, and they have moved into Libya, and that's exactly what Daniel 10:14 says. And because of time, I'm not turning there. Is this all coincidence, or is this prophecy? Iran is biblical Persia. She took that name when the Persian Empire ended in 32. In retrospect, we see her emergence as a regional power and growing global threat. Some of you may remember Rouhani at the United Nations actually declared, and the world powers surrendered to Iranian control, Iranian will. Why did we give millions upon millions of dollars to Iran and our people didn't want it? You see, they're accomplishing their end. They are continuing to move forward. Syria is currently siding with Iran because of the government. Turkey is moving further toward Sunni Islam. You may not realize this, but Erdogan came in as a non-religious leader. The country has moved, and he has supported it, becoming Sunni Islam. And so what you have, I believe, is you have a fault line building caused by the conflicts in both Syria and Iraq. I mentioned this a moment ago. Syria is currently siding with that's not what I thought I said. What I wanted you to see is, if you'll notice the, give me a moment, the next, notice just above this dark green here, this line. 3/4 of the population is Sunni, 1/4 is Shiite. And the government, as I said, is Shiite. Was the Islamic Caliphate, ISIS, in Syria and Iraq, was it Turkey's baby? We don't know. Again, we study prophecy. We're not prophets. After Turkey's counteroffensive, because Turkey is going to resist, there is coming a second war from the west. From the east, Shiites, from the west, Sunnis. And out of that, from Mosul, Mosul is where Nineveh was in the Assyrian Empire. From Mosul, the Bible tells us, the Antichrist will ultimately start his power. Look at this map. It is the divide of the east. The king of Persia, meaning Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Greece and Turkey united together. Again, another map. The dark green, Sunni, Shiite, pardon me. The light green, Sunni, and then you have countries that are variations. How many of you remember just a few years ago when the European Common Union was formed. There was a country that almost went under. What country was that?
Oh, Greece?
Wasn't it Greece?
It was Greece. And Greece is now building ties to Turkey instead of Europe. And Turkey is actually considering leaving. It joined, if you'll remember, give me just a moment, I'm drawing a blank. What is the European, NATO. Turkey was in NATO and is looking at pulling out now. Are we seeing a new political power bloc rising? Sunni versus Shia. Looking at that map, remember, both Alexander, Greek, and Persia had the same territory they controlled. But are we looking at a new religious, political, cultural fault line that separates the Greeks and the Turks from the rest of the world? What you have is you have a battle of West Sunni versus East Shiite. What we have is a battle between Orthodox Christianity, because Orthodox Christianity goes right to Armenia and right to Turkey and right to Greece, versus Islam. The Aegean is becoming, I'm convinced, a geopolitical divide between the Christian West and the Islamic East. There is one city in the world that ties together two continents. That city, you know, as Constantinople, or the Muslims know as Istanbul. Europe and Asia unite beneath the Black Sea and below it the Aegean Sea. West versus East, Orthodox versus Islam. A little bit different map to give you perspective. What you see in this map is you see that the Greeks and the Turks have united almost all of the world together in that part of the world as Muslims. But then you have countries that we don't think of, and I have in this particular picture, Kazakhstan. It's one of the safest places for Russians to go to avoid the war. Something to consider as a shot. Remember, although Islamic, neither Greece nor Turkey and Iran, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, or Pakistan, none of them are Arabic. It's not Arab versus Jew. It is Muslim versus Jew. And the goal is to see them unite either by civil means, political decisions, or by conquests. And we're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Mind blown.